Have you ever wondered why you stay loyal to people who hurt you? Why you keep giving chances, forgiving, explaining, hoping and believing the relationship will somehow improve, even when a part of you already knows it won't? Why you cling to someone who drains you, disappoints you, or repeatedly crosses your boundaries? This kind of loyalty doesn't mean you're weak or naive. It means there is a deeper story running underneath your choices, a psychological pattern shaped by your past, your fears, your longing for connection, and the hidden hope that one day the person who hurts you will finally become the person you wish they were. Today, we're going to explore why we stay loyal to pain, how our minds become attached to familiar wounds, and what it truly takes to break free from someone who keeps hurting us. The most painful truth is that your loyalty isn't actually about the person. It's about the story your mind is trying to complete. When someone hurts you but you stay, it's usually because their behavior feels strangely familiar, almost like an echo of something you've lived before. Maybe you grew up having to earn love, or maybe affection was inconsistent, unpredictable, or tied to approval. When that's your emotional blueprint, your mind unconsciously seeks out the same patterns, not because they're healthy, but because they're recognizable. Carl Jung called this the repetition compulsion. We are drawn back to unresolved emotional experiences, hoping that this time the ending will be different. So when someone hurts you, a part of you believes that if you can finally win their love, finally be chosen, finally be seen, you'll heal every moment you were ignored, dismissed, or made to feel not enough. You're not trying to fix the relationship. You're trying to fix your past. And the heartbreaking part is that you might confuse familiarity with love, when in reality, you're simply loyal to an old wound disguised as a new person. One of the biggest reasons you stay loyal to someone who hurts you is because you're not actually attached to who they are. You're attached to who they could be. You build an image of their potential, a version of them that's kinder, more attentive, more stable, more loving. And every time they show the smallest sign of change, it reignites that hope. This hope becomes a powerful emotional trap. You overlook the reality of how they treat you because you're emotionally invested in the fantasy of who they might become. The cycle usually looks like this. They hurt you. You confront or step back. They show remorse or affection. And that brief moment of warmth feels so intense that your brain clings to it as proof that the real them is still there. Psychologists call this intermittent reinforcement, unpredictable kindness mixed with unpredictably painful behavior. It creates an emotional high that feels like love, but is actually relief from stress. And relief can be addictive. You start believing that if you stay just a little longer, give just a little more, love a little harder, you'll finally unlock the version of them you dreamed about. But potential is a future fantasy, not a present reality. Loving someone's potential keeps you emotionally loyal, while their actions keep hurting you, trapping you in a cycle where you wait for a moment that may never come, losing pieces of yourself in the process. On a philosophical level, one of the strongest forces that keeps you loyal to people who hurt you is the fear of loneliness, a fear that often feels bigger than the pain of staying. Seneca wrote that we suffer more in imagination than in reality, and this applies perfectly here. Your mind creates terrifying stories about what life will look like without this person, even if they bring chaos into your world. You imagine emptiness, regret, starting over, or the possibility that you'll never find someone who understands you again. That imagined loneliness becomes a monster your mind wants to avoid at any cost, so you convince yourself to stay, telling yourself that the pain you know is safer than the unknown you don't. Philosophically, we cling to what is familiar because it gives us a sense of identity. I am someone who loves deeply. I don't give up. I can handle it. The Stoics believed that attachment to external things creates suffering, and relationships built on fear are a perfect example. You stay not out of love, but out of attachment to the idea of not being alone. But loneliness is not as dangerous as staying in places where you slowly lose yourself. Solitude can be a doorway into clarity, into rebuilding, into discovering who you are without someone else's chaos shaping your emotions. The tragic irony is that many people stay loyal to those who hurt them because they fear the silence that comes after leaving, when in reality, that silence is where you finally hear your own voice again. Another reason you remain loyal to someone who hurts you is because your sense of self-worth has been quietly shaped, sometimes eroded, by your past experiences. When you don't fully believe you deserve consistency, kindness, or respect, you end up tolerating behaviors that someone with a stronger sense of self would immediately reject. This doesn't happen overnight. It happens slowly, through repeated moments where your needs were dismissed, your feelings minimized, or your boundaries ignored, until you began to internalize the idea that asking for more makes you too demanding or too sensitive. Psychology calls this your acceptance threshold, the invisible line that determines what you believe is normal, acceptable, or forgivable. If you've been undervalued long enough, that threshold drops, and you start calling mistreatment, patience, emotional neglect, misunderstanding, and inconsistency love. You tell yourself things like, "It's not that bad. Everyone has flaws," or "I just need to try harder," because it feels easier to shrink yourself than to face the possibility that you've been giving your heart to someone who hasn't earned it. But the truth is, your loyalty isn't a sign of your love. It's a sign of the self-worth wound you carry. And until you rebuild that inner sense of value, you'll keep choosing people who mirror the belief that your needs don't matter, even though deep down, you know they do. One of the most overlooked reasons people stay loyal to those who hurt them is the identity trap. The belief that walking away means you've failed, betrayed your values, or become someone you don't want to be. Many of us grow up attaching our self-worth to certain roles: the dependable one, the patient one, the forgiving one, the one who never gives up on people. These roles become part of our identity, and abandoning them feels like abandoning ourselves. So even when someone consistently hurts you, you tell yourself, "I'm not the kind of person who leaves," or "If I stay long enough, they'll see my loyalty," or "Good people don't walk away." But this mindset is built on a misunderstanding. Loyalty is not the same as self-sacrifice. True loyalty doesn't mean holding on to someone, no matter how much they damage your peace. It means being honest about what aligns with your well-being. Philosophically, it mirrors the Stoic idea that virtue lies in choosing what is right, not what is familiar. Staying in harmful relationships doesn't make you loyal. It keeps you trapped in a version of yourself that was taught to ignore your own needs. Leaving doesn't mean you're betraying someone. It means you're finally choosing to stop betraying yourself. And the moment you recognize that your identity can evolve, that you can be both loyal and self-protective, you start reclaiming the freedom you lost while trying to prove your value to someone who never truly saw it. Breaking your loyalty to someone who repeatedly hurts you isn't about suddenly becoming stronger. It's about becoming more honest with yourself. The first step is acknowledging the pattern, saying out loud that your attachment is rooted in old wounds, familiar pain, or hope for a version of this person that doesn't exist yet. This clarity alone can feel like a shock, because it exposes the difference between what you've been holding on to and what's actually happening. The second step is rebuilding your self-worth through action, not words, setting boundaries, asserting your needs, allowing yourself to say no, protecting your time, and refusing to excuse behavior that damages your peace. Each small act becomes a vote for the person you're becoming. The third step is redefining loyalty itself, understanding that loyalty doesn't mean staying loyal to someone's potential, their apologies, or their promises. It means staying loyal to your own growth, your mental health, and your future. The fourth step is imagining the version of you who leaves, not in fear, but in strength. Carl Jung believed transformation begins with imagination, and seeing yourself as someone who can walk away makes that identity possible in real life. And finally, the fifth step is filling the empty space intentionally. When you let go of someone who hurts you, you don't lose love. You create room for healthier connections, for peace, for expansion, for self-respect. You learn that leaving isn't the end of your story, it's the beginning of the chapter where you finally choose yourself. At the end of the day, you don't owe loyalty to pain, you owe loyalty to the person you're becoming. The moment you choose yourself, the entire story begins to change. If this video helped you understand your own patterns a little more clearly, give it a like, leave a comment, and subscribe for more videos on psychology and philosophy. And remember, choosing your peace is never a betrayal. It's the beginning of your freedom. See you in the next video.